Hello everyone, this is Luke again, and welcome back to yet another Ninjago video onto the channel today. By the way, look at my shirt. I hope you guys like that shirt. But anyways, we're not talking about a dumb shirt that I have, alright? We're going to be talking about how I would improve every single Ninjago installment so far. And this actually does include the movie, and I'm also going to be splitting the Fire and Ice chapters as well. So, yeah, be prepared for a lot of honest criticism. And if you can't handle it, then fuck off. Then honestly, fuck off. But if you actually can handle it, then yeah, let's start. First off, the pilots. If I'm going to be honest here, I don't think the pilots need any improvements at all. The pilots are supposed to be simple. A lot of people really don't understand that, things were a lot simpler back in 2011. Like, I was only around 7 or 8 years old when that came out. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys were around that age, maybe a little bit older or a little bit younger than me. But things were a lot simpler back then. And thus is the case with the pilots. It was simple, but that was the point. It's supposed to be simple. It's not supposed to be over the top stuff. And a lot of people really need to realize that. And the fact that it's only 2 episodes actually makes it better. It actually serves as a prologue to the main series rather than being part of the main series as a whole. So, if I'm going to be honest here, the pilots are perfect, in my opinion. They don't need any changing whatsoever. Next up, Season 1, Rise of the Snakes. Again, like the pilots, it's simple, it's simplistic, but that's what makes it so great. I just love the whole lesson, basically, of, oh, just because you're different doesn't make you less of a person, or don't follow your dreams, be yourself, basically. And I love those. And I wish a lot of shows went back to that simplistic formula. You know what they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The only thing I would honestly improve is the importance of the other Serpentine generals, like Phantom, Scalador, Acidica, and Acidicus. Yeah, sorry, I thought there were 6 tribes for a second. Honestly, I feel like those 3 were, kind of downplayed just for the sake of Pythor and Scales. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Pythor and Scales. But I really think that they are just as important as Pythor and Scales. So that's really, honestly, the only improvement I would have with this season. Next, Season 2, which has 3 freaking names for some reason. I don't understand why. But, okay, this is another great installment of the series. Let me check for a second where I put it on my rankings, because sometimes I may get really confused on where I put these. Okay, yeah, just want to confirm where I placed Legacy, or Season 2, sorry. But anyways, yeah, another great installment of the series. I love Season 2. Especially the second half. Oh my god, it's so much eye candy. If you were such a young child back in the day, you would have lost your shit. And I'm not even kidding. The first half, I will admit, it is pretty slow. But maybe that was the point. Maybe it was trying to not get into the action super fast, but rather trying to slowly build up to that. Which I could understand. I will admit, most of the filler episodes are completely necessary. The only ones you could honestly write out or change a lot would be Double Trouble and Ninja Run. And also, you pretty much you would have to really change Wrong Place, Wrong Time, because honestly, that shit is way too confusing. If you think it's confusing for me now, you should have. My mind was in so many different places watching it for the first time when I was like a 9 or 10-year-old boy. It's just like, well, what just happened? I don't understand. And that's what kind of causes a lot of hate towards some of these episodes. when the plot isn't exactly stated in such a clear way, people can get confused, overwhelmed, and may even get upset because they just don't understand. So, wrong place, wrong time either needs to be edited quite a bit or just gotten rid of entirely. Um, Most likely edited for and make the story just a lot more understandable. As for the second half I barely change anything. Um, Except maybe have the day Ninjago stood still a little bit more relevant to the plot because I felt like it was kind of one of those weird episodes that just kind of happens, I guess. And well, after that though, I probably wouldn't change that much after that. So, if I'm going to be truly honest here, there's really not much to change for season 2. Now on to season 3. Season 3, rebooted, obviously has one big change that we have to fix: the love triangle. This storyline, honestly, I feel like is one of the main reasons why people despise Rebooted as a season. And it's a common misconception that a lot of people think that the love triangle makes up a majority of Rebooted, when it really does not. Um, but I do agree, love triangle. But the thing is, without that love triangle, we wouldn't have Jay versus Cole. We wouldn't have season 6. Hell, we wouldn't even have season 15, the newest season, if it wasn't for that love triangle. So, as much as I hate it, it's 100% necessary. However, I do admit that maybe the reason for the shift can be improved. Rather than just say a love machine, rather have Nia just not like Jay. But then again, they kind of were in that on again, off again relationship. But I think the show would have to explain why they're in such an on again, off again relationship, rather than just say, oh, they have tensions between each other. Like, that's such a lazy ass explanation. Um, As for some of the other episodes, Surge I wouldn't change, or at least it doesn't appear that there might be a change. Some of the other episodes I think are good enough on their own. The whole space thing, I just wish they could have done more with that, and the Digiverse. I wish they could have done more with either one of those. But then we have one of the most epic scenes of all time, Zane's sacrifice. A lot of people constantly crap on it. A lot of people crap on it because they believe that, oh, an exploding Nindroid can't stop the Overlord if a demigod Lloyd can't. Did you all forget that the Overlord can never truly die? He's part of the balance itself. So even if Zane somehow stopped him, Zane wouldn't have won because the Overlord would just be back to a dormant state. And I feel like that's where he is right now. Hopefully the new writers will do something with the Overlord later down the line. But like I said, the only really major change I would say is the changing of the love triangle and maybe how it starts. And maybe just add a few more elements with the Digiverse and space, but that's really it. Next up, Season 4, Tournament of Elements. So, Tournament. A fan favorite, obviously. Widely regarded as the best Ninjago season of all time. Let's be real here. It really is not, but I could kind of see why it could be up there. It did change the game. It is one of the most innovative seasons because it basically added a whole bunch of new shit that basically set the course for a lot of other seasons to follow, like lore building, world building, characters, and stuff. But in a sense, that kind of made it its own hubris to me. Especially the characters. Some of the Elemental Masters shown were absolutely great. Griffin Turner, love his voice. Love how he sounds kind of like an 80s rock star, you know? And Nero, how he talks like this. Or Koloff, who sounds like he's from Mother Russia. Um, Like, those three are amazing. I love them. But some of the Elemental Masters have zero personality and zero character. The four that I can name off the top of my head are Ash, Camille, Tox, and Gravis. They don't really serve a purpose in the grand scheme of things, so I believe you can just remove them. Oh, and Jacob as well. Jacob didn't really do much. Sorry, my grandma thought I was being loud when I wasn't, so screw her. Um, but anyways, like I said, some of the Elemental Masters, no personality, no character at all. And the most popular Elemental Master kind of is varying along that line for me. Skylar. I really don't like her as a character. She's very bland, very boring, and honestly, only made just to create a stupid love interest to Kai for no reason at all. So honestly, I would write her out as well. I know she is important because she is the spy, and honestly, I felt like that twist of her being the spy was a little too predictable, as there was obviously something iffy about that chick. If it were up to me, I would have given that spy treatment to someone who is very likable and is most likely the first option to be checked off when it comes to not being the spy. AKA, I would have given that twist to Griffin Turner because I think Griffin is way more likable than Skylar, and because of his personality. No one would suspect the nicest guy to be a complete bad guy all of a sudden. Obviously, I would keep the idea that he still goes along with Chen and all that, but you know, there was, but you know. Also, I believe the tournament wasn't used to its fullest extent. I really don't believe it was. As I said before, it has to evolve the characters as well, and it's very complicated to talk about in this video, so all I'll just say is I wish the tournament was a little bit more interesting, I guess. So, yeah. So, Then we have basically the most missed opportunity in the show, and that is Lloyd versus Kai. I'm still angry about this to this day. I'm still wondering why they put Chen in the last battle in the tournament. Yeah, I understand his tournament, his rules, but is that really an excuse to insert him the into the tournament for basically no reason? Sorry, when you're talking like this, you can get very, very thirsty. Um, so personally, what I would have done is, I would have kept that idea of Chen manipulating Kai, because that idea is excellent. But I want him to fully successfully manipulate him. But I would still give off the illusion that Chen is the one facing him, where Lloyd says, "Are you my final opponent?" Chen goes, "No, but he is," and then he points to Kai with red eyes and basically looking like, basically manipulated. And Lloyd, that's where he just can't fight. He can't fight against his own friend, and therefore he loses. Therefore, Kai wins the tournament, basically. So, in my opinion, Kai should have won the tournament and not Lloyd. Hence, I feel like this is kind of where sorta it started, the whole Lloyd focused drama and shit. But yeah. And as for the finale, it was pretty rushed. It felt like they were kind of trying to cram all this drama and tension into one episode, which kind of worked, but not really. I just wish this is one of those instances where a 2-part finale was absolutely needed. It was needed. It was basically a requirement, essentially. But for some reason, the writers didn't really do that. You could say that the greatest fear of all is the part of that, but it's never really implied that. So yeah, that's all what I could say about tournament. And by God, this video is getting long, so I'm gonna have to count all the installments, including the Ninjago movie, the Iron Ice chapters, stuff. Because let's be honest here, I am talking for way too long at this point. It feels way too long at this point. So I might have to do a part 1 and a part 2 to this, and maybe even a part 3. So I think I'll stop with what I call the golden age of Ninjago, the golden age. So yeah. So I nearly counted, and there's 19. Can you believe this? 19 installments of Ninjago if you divide the Fight Season 11 into the chapters and added the Lego Ninjago movie. So yeah, I'm gonna have to basically go 6, 7, 6 essentially. So I'm going to stop. I'm gonna do possession, and that'll be it because my head is really hurting. So my final season for this part is possession. Again, another fan favorite. I love possession, and it was kind of one of the first seasons to kind of really step into the dark and mature territory. And well, let's be honest here. It kind of was. Um, I loved Moro as a villain. Moro as a villain was amazing. And, well, basically, it was great. He wasn't exactly based on revenge. It was more of a subset of revenge called jealousy. He was jealous that he wasn't the Green Ninja. And then, and speaking of that, we had Lloyd being captured. Well, not captured, but possessed by Moro throughout basically the entire season. So basically, yay, no Lloyd for most of the season. um, but one big oopsie that I think this season made was making the ninja's powers solely reliable on Lloyd is complete bullshit. I just don't understand the idea of that. The only thing I can think of is, oh, they're the 4 elements of creation and all that jazz. But even that, then it doesn't really make sense. Personally, I would not have had their powers being stripped because of the wind, or because of them being maybe their powers weakened, but not necessarily stripped. So it's sort of like Vengestone, but it doesn't like completely reduce them entirely. Um, then we have Ronin. Now here's a big problem with Ronin. His first appearance was in a video game, and you heard me right, a video game, in the Shadow of Ronin video game. I really don't understand why Shadow of Ronin is not canon when there's literally a bunch of elements that prove it is canon, and I'm still angry that that game is not canon. There's no other way to prove all that stuff if it wasn't canon. So you can't just pretend like this stuff never happened, because most of the Ninjago fandom hasn't even played Shadow of Ronin. And that's a big issue. It's basically saying, well, if you gotta understand why this guy is in the show, you have to play this game first, which is completely stupid. Personally, Ronin should have not entered the show entirely, or just been introduced as a brand new character and having nothing to do with Shadow of Ronin. But I can't change the past. And then we have Nia's development into becoming the water ninja. Like she said, Samurai X was something she created with her own hands. Her being a ninja just felt like it was kind of forced onto her, and she didn't really want to be it. And I do really appreciate her whole dynamic that spanned 3 seasons, 5, 6, and 7. However, the thing is, after she fully accepts becoming a ninja, That's it. That's it. I would have had that arc continue after 7 with her struggling to struggling to adjust to the new role. And said essentially, kind of like how Lloyd in season 7 was struggling to be a leader of the team. So I would have added that, but that's really not to blame on season 5. That's more to blame on season 8. Um, and honestly, I wouldn't really change that much of possession. I wouldn't really change that much because let's be honest here, it's really good on its own with what it had. It may need some few minor tweaks, but that's really it. And that's going to be it for part 1 of my How Can I Improve Ninjago little mini series, essentially. So yeah, what do you guys think about the pilots? What I said for the pilots to season 5. What do you think you can improve for those 6 respective installments? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel by clicking on that red subscribe button, and click on the notification bell to see every video that I will upload. And I'll see all you folks in the next video. Bye bye. Ow, my head.